It is MMA live before lock time right here on Awesemo.com. Of course, I am Jason Floyd, and that is the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. Pete, as always, man, great to be talking a little MMA with you, man. How is your Saturday afternoon going, man?
Oh, bro, busy. My girl just had surgery, so I've been running around like crazy, taking care of her. It's some quality time there, Jason. So I'm looking forward to the fights tonight, and we'll both sit back, watch the fights, and win some money.
And, of course, we're just under 1 hour, 55 minutes to go before we hit lock. Hopefully, it's not like last week, Pete, and we have all these changes within, an hour or so of the fight. Hopefully that does not happen in this situation. But, we want to spend this first, 5-10 minutes-ish talking about what has changed since we did the strategy show on Thursday. And what has changed is the fact that we officially know Jalen Turner is out, or excuse me, is in, taking on Frank Camacho's spot against Brock Weaver. He's 9,000 on DK. Matt Frevola off the card. Kevin Kroom in versus Roosevelt Roberts, which probably makes Roosevelt Roberts very chalky today at 8,400 on DK. Mm-hmm. And then Matt Schnell had weight-cutting issues where his manager, Matt Weibel, posted on his Twitter account where he needs to, sit there and, falls in the tub essentially, and they pull him from the fight. So Tyson Nam is off the card as well. So let me get your take on kind of what we've seen change since Thursday.
Man, talk about craziness, but during the quarantine, we've kind of been accustomed to this craziness. And I want to tell you guys out there, like, MMA cards typically aren't this crazy. Quarantine has really just elevated things. And, Tyson Nam was probably going to be a very popular 7K option. He has KO upside. Unfortunately, he's off the card. So now we really have to reshuffle the deck, Jason, and start to target people we weren't initially targeting and starting to select some names. You talk about 11 or 10 fighters under 8K, and I've actually started to narrow it down to a few that I really like and I'm getting a lot of exposure to, and then like two that I'm getting slight exposure to.
Yeah, I will tell you, I was doing some crunches just before we kind of locked up here, and some of the crunches was I did a dummy crunch right from the start, and so I think and I was doing on FanDuel, not shocking at all. At the initial crunch, I was getting a crap ton of Roxanne Modafferi, which, look, on FanDuel, there is a lot of value there at $9, no question about it. And so, and I was talking about this on the NASCAR show earlier today, when I'm doing these dummy crunches, what I'll do is, let me create a dummy crunch, then let me go over to the ownership projections that we have, and then start to kind of, limit my exposure and whatnot. I was getting a lot of Michelle Waterson, which we talked about this. I think we talked about this yesterday on one of our calls, where you had said, I had mentioned to you, I said, hey, don't you think that $200, especially on DraftKings, is going to kind of maybe lead you to go Michelle Waterson? On FanDuel, Angela Hill at $20 is tough to get to, but I do have some lineups with her because I think I want to have essentially 100% exposure to that fight.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup, and I think on FanDuel you can probably get away from it more than usual. Angela Hill at 20, but she does have the volume. She'll probably defend some takedowns, so perhaps she does pay off that hefty price tag over on FanDuel. Michelle Waterson is probably going to be, I wouldn't say more popular than Angela Hill, but she's going to be right there because of the $200 savings. And, you talk about scoring being elevated because of 5 potential rounds. I do like Waterson slightly more in the fight, and I think I'm alone on that island, but I have plenty of exposure to that fight. I think this week, like most weeks for MMA DFS, it's about targeting the correct fights and, trying to, prevent yourself from just wasting money on fights that probably won't materialize to a lot of points, and slow pace fights, some women's MMA matches on this fight card specifically. But, if I'm looking, Jason, under 8K, now this is just my preference. I really narrowed it down to a few people that I think we have to look at if we want, GPP optimal potential. And I think Azatar becomes one of the most popular 7K options at 7,700. I think that's a very nice pick. Modafferi, upside somewhat limited because she relies so much on takedowns and she does not have good takedown offense, 21%. So I think that's slightly a reach. Ed Herman at 7,400 is another guy that I'm trying to get some exposure to because I think that fight is sneaky. We've seen Mike Rodriguez KO'd in the past. Ed Herman has a wealth of experience and does have a BJJ black belt. So he's another guy that I'm looking at. No interest in Kevin Kroom stepping up against Roosevelt Roberts. No interest in Brock Weaver. Honestly, the next person that I'm looking at is due to the struggles of Billy Quarantillo in some of his matchups where early on he takes damage, he gets put in bad positions. So Kyle Nelson here at 6,900 is a guy that I'm kind of force feeding into some of my lineups that I initially was not going to just because of Tyson Nam being off the card.
There's one fighter on this card that I think you need to have a lineup or two with this fighter in it because they're going to be low owned, and I think I'm going to shock you who my answer is.
Anthony Ivy.
Andrea Lee.
Yeah,
it's me playing the ownership, and this is where when you have an Awesemo Plus membership and you can look at those ownerships where you can sit there and say, okay, who is the heavy betting favorite that's not getting ownership? And that's why I look at Andrea Lee. We've got her 17% ownership. Now, I like that play more. Look, I think Roxanne's a very good punt play on FanDuel at $9. Not a bad punt play on DraftKings either. But when I'm looking at fighters who may have low ownership to where you could really get that advantage on the field, Andrea Lee could be that fighter. Now, the problem is at $8,900 on DK and $19 on FanDuel, can she get the finish? I'm not so quite sure about that.
Yeah, she's definitely in a spot where she can capitalize on Roxanne Modafferi being a punching bag at times. And Roxanne's pretty predictable with her style, what she's going to do. She's going to throw pitter-patter punches to engage into a clinch, to look to lace up your leg and take you to the mat, where she is very dominant. Andrea Lee does not have the best takedown defense, even though she comes with a 61% takedown defense. It's a little skewed because, she has actually gotten taken down by some sloppy takedown attempts in the UFC. I don't hate the pick of Andrea Lee. I have plenty of Andrea Lee. Probably not one of my favorite fights to target, but if you're playing ownership, stranger things have happened. I mean, if she's able to defend takedowns and put Roxanne in bad positions, you talk about accumulation of strikes. She does throw 5 strikes per minute. It could be a nice spot here at 8,900.
Yeah, I mean, that was just one thing is, as I was looking at roster construction today and saying, okay, with all these changes, because I was really high on Tyson Nam. That was a fighter that I was really looking at playing today. That was just someone that I was like, okay, give me Tyson Nam. I really liked him in that spot, but of course now I can't go there. So, you mentioned about Azatar and Worthy. I like Azatar on DraftKings.
Yeah.
But the value on FanDuel is on the comma worthy side.
Yeah, I mean, on both sites, I don't mind taking the guy who's cheaper because I think that they have an equal chance of knocking each other out. If history repeats itself, maybe Comma Worthy gets knocked out for the 7th or 6th time in his professional career, which is quite a bit. And I've seen him knocked out regionally. The kid's talented. The kid can throw great strikes, but he is there to be on the receiving end from some strikes. And so Azatar, relatively unknown in the UFC. He did have a very nice performance and got a knockout win, but how is he over the course stretched out for 15 minutes? That would be my worry. Obviously, the longer the fight goes, the more likely Comma Worthy is able to make a mistake. But if Azatar's cardio and conditioning isn't up to par, he's really looked good at 155 pounds in the UFC. I mean, you talk about 2 guys that should be ranked in the division he's taken out, Devontae Smith and Luis Pena. That's some great wins in the UFC. I'd be interested to see what his ownership comes in at.
But of course, we are here to answer your questions. We'll answer your questions for the next 45 minutes. Let's start off with Mike in the super chat. I appreciate Mike hopping in the super chat there. He goes, "Hey guys, is it wrong of me to like Ivy as a slight underdog? Barb lost about 70 pounds during fight camp, so maybe he didn't focus too much on fighting. Ivy took a loss without a full camp and mainly focused on a weight cut."
Yeah, so I did some extra diving for everybody and for myself, of course, because we're trying to win this slate tonight. So Barberena a year ago had back surgery, okay? And, it was a pretty serious surgery, and his recovery was pretty extensive as well. So he, during that time of his, recovering from surgery, he did put on weight. He said he was like 240 pounds or something ridiculous like that. So, but granted, you're on the shelf. You're going to gain weight. Now, the thing that's a little concerning for me is he accepted this fight only with 2 months of actual MMA training behind it. He's talked about it in an interview. So, is his back? He says he feels better than ever, and he was significantly hampered by that back injury in his previous fights during fight camps, and he says he feels great. But while he's been recovering from surgery, Anthony Ivy has been the more active fighter. Barberena's really hasn't been in the cage in quite some time, and he is on a rough patch right now. So I don't hate Anthony Ivy. So of the 11 options under 8K or whatever it is, I believe it's 11. I have 3 that I have a lot of exposure to, and I have 2 that I'm trickling my exposure to. And Anthony Ivy would be under that category of trickling my exposure to.
Yeah, it's, when I was creating lineups, it was that, okay, on DraftKings, who are the 2 fighters under 8K that I'm taking? And on FanDuel, it's like, okay, who is the $13 and under options that are going to construct my lineup, and is tonight going to be one of those nights in terms of MMA DFS that you could have a losing fighter in your lineup? And what's it going to take for that fighter to be in your lineup? Now, with this many fights, if that would seem unlikely, I would, look, I don't love stacking fights. I think people are going to stack the main event.
It makes sense from a cash standpoint, but as far as GPP, with so many fights, the likelihood is that stacking will not be optimal. There are so many fights. You would need everybody under 8K to lose. Now, granted, we have so many favorites this week, Jason. Mm-hmm. So maybe this is a week where all the favorites win, and we have – what do we have? Alex Caceres a couple weeks ago, I keep mentioning it, was the only 7K option to win, and a losing fighter in the 5-round bout. Okay, it was Augusto Sakai, right? Augusto Sakai was in the optimal lineup, even though he lost. So you could see a situation like that, but the reason that happened, a losing fighter, was because they were in the 7K range. Now, there's no 5-round fighter in the 7K range. Michelle Waterson's 8,000. It's pretty close, but I don't think stacking's the way to go this week.
No. Of course, if you're in the chat, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. We really do appreciate that. Let's start off with Edward. He goes, "Hey Pete, any big takeaways from the weigh-ins? You're really good at finding small details to pick up during those."
Let me kind of go down the list of the fights. That's kind of how I can remember if I see the name. I thought Angela Hill and Waterson looked incredible. Both looked in great shape. Waterson, they both look really intense too. Andrea Lee looked significantly better than Roxanne Modafferi, but that's kind of just what Roxanne's body type is. Herman and Rodriguez definitely don't come in looking shredded. But, Rodriguez has a significant reach advantage over Herman with 5 inches. So that, it's not the biggest deal in a small cage. So if I'm looking, I thought Kyle Nelson looked like he cuts a lot of weight to make 145 pounds. Now, how does that affect him if he does not get rid of Quarantillo in the first round? It could zap his energy. As far as... I thought Romanov, we already know. Romanov times 10, okay? And if he does not come through for me, I'm going to be very upset. People tell me I need to shave my head if he loses. That ain't happening. The hair's struggling to come back as it is. So we'll find something else. But there's no way I'm rostering Martinez. I know he's tough, but he hits hard, but his physical shape, he just does not look ready for Romanov.
Yeah, Ross had mentioned about you need to shave your head if Romanov loses.
Yeah, get out of here. That is not happening. No.
The problem is you don't have a ton of hair as it is. So I don't feel like you shaving is gonna be like a big like you wouldn't like. I don't like. Okay, first off, I would never make a bet to shave my head. First off, no one wants to see this big dome with no hair on it. Okay, first off, you don't want to see that. But I could see like you would be like, okay, that's no big deal.
No, okay. Well, I said that, and guess what? March 16th, when quarantine happened, right? I shaved my head. This is as much. I haven't touched the top of my head since then. So what does that tell you? Yeah, that's eliminated from the options. Maybe the beard. Maybe I'll shave the beard if that's not a bad option.
My more issue is more of the white hairs coming in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
that's more my issue as I'm getting older here. I'll mention these two questions or comments on the Azatar Worthy fight. First up, Colby says, Pete, do you think Karma wins the fight or nah? And Matt goes, Azatar inside 2 minutes leaves Kama for dead. I would say this. I think that if Azatar wins the fight, I believe it is in the first 5 minutes. Now, when I talked to Kama a couple weeks ago about this fight, remember, they were supposed to fight each other earlier this year, back at one of the very first shows when the UFC came back. And the thing that he said to me, we probably talked, I guess, about 3 weeks ago at this point, and he said, he goes, look, Azatar, I know he brings the heat. He's a guy who comes forward. He's a very aggressive fighter. Now, that can be good and bad because we have seen, and you talked about this on Thursday on the strategy show, we've seen Kama Worthy get knocked out. Now, look, Kama Worthy has treated me great in UFC DFS's 2 UFC fights. But this is an interesting spot. My opinion on this fight that I said on Thursday remains the same. I believe no matter the platform, this is a must roster fight. I think it's very unlikely this thing goes 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I don't know if this thing hits minute 11.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a fight that I'm trying to really force into my lineups. I can't really argue against Kama Worthy because he doesn't look like the same fighter now that he's in the UFC. But with his style, with a guy who hits hard, Luis Pena is talented, but he does not hit like Azatar does. And Azatar knocks people out. Mm-hmm. But the one thing going for Kama Worthy is his strength of schedule. Like I do think that Kama Worthy has faced the tougher opposition and has, lost to a lot of talented guys, but at least he's been in there with guys that will put up a fight. So it's a fight that I need. I need in my lineup. There's no way I'm around it.
Of course, you can see it right now on the screen. We do have a NFL kickoff flash sale going on. When you use the promo code REDZONE, you'll get a Awesemo Plus NFL weekly pass for 50% off when you're looking to make those DFS lineups for tomorrow. You definitely got to check out Awesemo Plus weekly pass there. Use the promo code REDZONE to get the Awesemo Plus NFL weekly pass for 50% off. That's $7.50 for 1 week of Awesemo Plus NFL. Gives you access to ownership projections, player projections, everything you need to know. We got a ton of NFL coverage right now at awesemo.com. You go there right here on the YouTube channel as well. So be sure to check out that flash sale that we do have going on right now. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram at awesemo_com. We're providing free player projections, and projection for tonight's UFC slate is Angela Hill. So be sure to check that out right now. Next up, let's see here. Someone says taking bets for what Pete is drinking. I'm gonna say Pete's drinking a soda.
Yeah, there's no alcohol, man. Soda's bad enough for my diet, so
yeah. I had a good amount of beer last night, so it might be a little. It might be a light night. I don't even know if I'll pop open one, man.
Jason got banged up. Come on, you got to save that for the fight nights.
I was having a good time with my buddy last night. We went out and had some dinner and had some drinks, and they just kept flowing. Nice. That's about the best way. R. Bowden says, can afford one between Bobby Green or Brian Barberena on DraftKings DFS. Got Green now. Should I switch? I would say yes, because I think the probability of a finish by Brian Barberena is higher than a probability of a finish by Bobby Green.
Okay, so that's a very good question. I think it's like razor thin close. Hard for me to really pick one or the other. Bobby Green's facing a guy who's been away from the cage for quite some time and was knocked out in his previous bout against Scott Holtzman. And now you're talking about Barberena coming off of surgery, back surgery. How does he really, come back after that? Is he hampered? Does he feel good? Like if I'm Anthony Ivy, right? Mm-hmm. My game is to take you down and to wrestle you. I'm gonna get him into a clinch immediately. And I know it sounds like brutal, but I'm gonna body lock him. 100% gonna body lock him. You need to get as many advantages as you can. So Anthony Ivy now at 7,200, he's the guy that I talked about trickling in because he's in an interesting spot where Barberena could, thinking that he's just going to go right through this guy and he's going to be overlooking him. Ivy has been the more active guy in the cage recently, but he seems like he's irritated about that performance against Christian Aguilera. He should be, because he didn't show his skills in there at all. But I would just see Takedown City being his path to victory. I don't see it any other way. I mean, he does have TKO wins from taking people down, and could work towards a submission, but he's got to do it quick. He's got to really just put Barberena on his butt.
You mentioned about how much you like Azatar on DraftKings, and someone asked about the favorite underdog on DraftKings. Outside of Azatar, if I was going to look at my favorite underdog,
we're talking DFS or just straight betting?
I'm going to say DFS. Okay. Since he mentioned DraftKings, I might say Kyle Nelson.
Yeah, it is. It's Kyle Nelson for me. And the reason is because he's been training. He's a big guy. He's strong. He does have knockout ability. And, Quarantillo only averages 1.3 takedowns per 15 minutes. And, that he'll be looking to shoot immediately. And, he only in the UFC has landed 42% of them. So if Kyle Nelson's able to stuff one, maybe two, the first two or whatever, and keep it on the feet, he talked about it in some interviews. And Kyle Nelson says, look, I'm going out there, I'm going to stuff his shots. I know what he's going to do. And then I'm going to knock him out in the first round. So 6,900 for a guy that wants to knock somebody out bad in round one. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with taking some shots on it. Now, there are some GPP dart plays, Jason, that I have for my dollar lineups and the small contests that I'm, more comfortable taking shots on. And then people I feel more comfortable about will be in the larger stakes. That's how you guys should always do it with your lineups, take the chances in the small contests.
All right. Colby says, Hill and Worthy or Green and Azatar. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's interesting because the 5 rounds are screwing me up. I'd probably say Hill Worthy, and you guys know that I like Azatar a little bit more.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on that. I think the reason I would go there is because of 5 rounds with Angela Hill. We mention this with Bobby Green all the time. Hasn't got a stoppage since 2013 against James Krause. Now, is tonight the night? Maybe it is. But, that is 2013, Pete, was a long time ago.
That's what I'm saying. Yep,
where were you at in your MMA career in 2013?
Just made my Bellator debut.
Second fight?
I was recovering from elbow surgery, actually. Yeah, I was on the shelf for 2 years.
Matthew, is Jalen Turner worth 9,000, or is that too high? I would say he's worth it. And I'll say this: it's about who he's fighting.
Yeah. Okay. So he's talented, and I think that he's in a very nice spot. He could go out. He's a big guy, so he should win this fight. And he was scheduled to face somebody, last weekend's card or the weekend before that. So
last weekend, yeah.
He's in good shape. You know what I mean? He's in real good shape. So
different kind of opponent. He was supposed to fight Thiago Moses, and we know what Thiago wants to do. Thiago wants to take the fight to the ground. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Now Brock wants to brawl. Don't kid yourself. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah. Brock Weaver makes things interesting with how aggressive he is, and how he presses his opponents against the cage. Like he was doing it to Roosevelt Roberts for some time, but the ground game's just not there. The takedown defense is just not there. The striking, there's a lot of things that aren't there in his game, and I think Jalen Turner can take advantage of it. Weaver's way of winning this fight, I think, is by just pressing him against the cage, but I think he's too small to do so.
And people can see it right now on the screen with your spreadsheet, the reach advantage that Jalen Turner has in that, a 4-inch reach advantage. I think that's going to be very key for him in the matchup as well. I know I'll get over it with, I know it's different, but do we know the broken back rules don't work?
Well, the broken back rule of staying away from the broken back chick, that works. Staying away from that. Now, this will be the ultimate test of the broken back rule, how Barberena responds to it. So we'll have to see.
By the way, let me ask you, since I was out and about, Bellator was not on in the place I was at, how was the Bellator card last night? Is it worth going back and watch?
I liked it, and I tweeted about possibly one of the worst groin shots I've ever seen in my life.
Oh God, I saw. I was scrolling through Twitter. I saw that. I was like, oh my God.
You have to watch it live, Jason. Like, go watch it, because the first one was bad, and the guy took 5 minutes to finally recover from a spin back kick from one of the best kickboxers and karate guys, Raymond Daniels, and then finally recovers. And then Raymond Daniels, they go at it a little bit, and he throws the same technique and hits him way worse. And he was screaming and crying on the ground. So I was like, ooh, that was brutal. That was probably one of the worst I've ever seen.
Did I see he got stretchered out, right?
Yeah, he got stretchered out, and he was at the hospital.
Wow, man. Oof. Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably be watching that a little bit tomorrow. Machiavelli says, I'm with Jason drafting and first fight of the card and possibly fade the main event. Yeah, don't play the first fight tonight.
There's no way I'm touching Kish. I don't care. You tell me she's winning. But Sabina Mazo, the reason I kind of think she's interesting is because she has landed like multiple takedowns in previous fights. And I do think that she's the stronger, the bigger opponent. And, she's going to look to put Kish in the tie plum and work her beautiful knees. So all it takes is one knee to touch your chin. You could, get a stoppage. Or maybe she trips her and gets some takedown points. So, I mean, it's not one of my favorite 9K options, but Mazo I'll sprinkle in.
Okay, so their ownerships are pretty similar.
What are they?
Julia Avila, Justine Kish, or not, take out Justine Kish, Sabina Mazo, and Andrea Lee are all pretty similar ownership.
Yeah.
Rank them 1, 2, 3.
I'm going. So I think they all win. I'd probably go Mazo, Lee, Avila. And the reason I'm saying that about Avila is because Sarge is tough. Sarge is good. Sarge is probably going to win one maybe 2 rounds.
Hate the price.
Yeah. On who? Eubanks?
No. Julia.
Oh, Julia. Yeah. Eubanks, she's super tough. She could definitely do it, but her cardio abandons her as the fight goes on. It's not an easy matchup by any means. Avila was better off fighting Nico Montano.
Ryan says fade play 7.5 and less on DK.
Fade play.
If you can get away from Roxanne Modafferi, because I think her ownership will be decent because of the value.
Yeah, I really don't see too many people under 75 that are going to be so. I guess you have to have somebody. So I would imagine Modafferi is going to have some heavy ownership. I think Azatar is the most popular 7K option for good reason, though.
Barberena, Turner, or Green on DK. I would rank it Turner, Barberena, Green.
I'd agree.
Roxanne just fights, always fights, ends up being circle, jab, jab, rinse and repeat. 60 for the winner, 27 for Roxanne. I don't disagree.
I don't disagree either. That's kind of what we were touching on. Great analysis.
But hey, if she goes out and even wins, At $9 on FanDuel, if Roxanne wins, good chance she is in the optimal lineup.
Yeah, I don't see
because I'll tell you, I've got her in lineups, and it allows you to get to a lot of fighters that you want to get to.
Yeah, Roxanne Modafferi really, she wins fights that she sometimes shouldn't, and she's always present, and she does have better striking now than more than ever, and we've seen it. She's just not like threatening on the feet though, and that's why they just walk through her punches because they don't care. It doesn't hurt. So Modafferi, if she takes down Andrea Lee, could actually work towards a finish, but 38% in her career, I don't see it happening.
Next up, we have who was it? It was Andrew who asked FanDuel captain option. So we already know who your number one option is. Okay, so let's just get that Romanov. Let's get him off the table.
Yeah.
Who else do you like as a MVP?
I like Roosevelt Roberts. I kind of force-fed Romanov and Roosevelt Roberts into majority of my lineups. They're kind of like my 1A and 1B that I started my lineups with and kind of set the table for me.
I would also say I think other good MVP plays, Billy Q. But he's got a weather. Look, the slow start always concerns you with Billy. And then I would say Mike Rodriguez. Now, can Mike finish Ed Herman? That's the big question, Mike. Because look, when you're talking about FanDuel MVP, you're looking for a finish. You're looking for a finish, and who can win in the first round. And I think Romanov is a guy. Turner is definitely someone to go to. Just want to look at our projections in terms of what we have on FanDuel in terms of the MVP percentage. Let's see here. Yeah, everyone we mentioned is right at the top. It'll be interesting. You know what? Michelle Waterson, and I have Michelle Waterson as an MVP on FanDuel in one line. That is something to pay attention to. Of course, if you want to get access to our ownership projections, you got to sign up for an Awesemo Plus weekly pass, MMA weekly pass for $8.95. Gets you access to our ownership projections, player projections, and the top fighters tool. That is a tool that I know both myself and Pete use all the time, and also highly recommend add Fantasy Cruncher to your subscription because it will pay off for you. I probably spend 2 hours a day on Fantasy Cruncher.
Yeah, I was just checking my Twitter, making sure that we don't have any crazy last minute notice fights getting scrapped or whatever. You guys got to use Fantasy Cruncher. It helps me. It'll help you for all sports, especially when you start to really understand how to use it. It's so helpful. Instead of hand building your lineups like I still like to do occasionally, it's just so much more convenient. I definitely would recommend it. What do we got? We got 292 in here right now listening to us, Jason. If you guys could just smash that like button, get us over 100, I really appreciate it. Keep these questions coming. We're here for another, 20 minutes, 25 minutes?
Yeah, about just under 25 minutes. Romanov's a lock. We know how you feel about that. I don't think we have to go too much. More upside, Green or Turner? Turner.
Honestly, they did good with pricing those guys. They really did good. I think they did well pricing Turner, Green, and Barberena because that's kind of where they should be. I would say Turner, though. Level of competition, who he's fighting.
So the prop fight goes to decision on Bobby Green right now is -210.
Now, why is that, Jason? It's because Bobby Green, when's the last time he finished a fight?
2013.
That's a long damn time ago. That is crazy.
It's grouse. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, when you look at the fights that have high likelihood of going the distance. So Kish Mazo is -300 to go the distance. Eubanks and Avila is -180. Roxanne and Andrea Lee is -395.
Holy moly.
It's the over 2.5 rounds is -435.
Goodness gracious.
And on the main event, the fight goes the distance is -265. And look, and I always say is, even if you're not you bet on the fights, you just play DFS, look at those odds. You can go over to awesemo.com to Odds Shopper, and you can see those odds. Those are it can really help you. And I think that, and especially if you can kind of just track where the lines are going, it can kind of tell you what the betting public does think about these fights.
Yeah, we spoke of it. I'm not the biggest odd guy, but I understand it.
Yeah, you have to. It's something you have to look at. You have to look at the inside the distant props. Gives you a little idea.
I think those are helpful. So I really think that those are on the money because it's a good indicator of the flow of the fight. But unlike other sports, plenty of underdogs. There's what, 2 underdogs a card usually cashing?
Yeah. Here's an interesting one: Rodriguez or Turner. I'd say Turner because look, Ed Herman hasn't been finished in 5 years.
It's a tough fight for Mike. It's a real tough fight for Mike Rodriguez. Ed Herman's, I know that he's older. He's 39, but the guy has really fought a ton of people. And Mike Rodriguez has been submitted in the past, has been KO'd. I guess Ed Herman has too. But Ed Herman, I think, has more ways to win than Rodriguez. Rodriguez is KO or bust.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Jackson says, this is for DraftKings, goes, what do y'all think of Azatar, Rodriguez, Roberts, Patrick, Turner, and Romanov? Patrick concerns me.
Wow. Patrick?
Alan Patrick.
Oh, okay.
It's not Patrick. It's Patrick. He's Brazilian.
Okay.
Yeah.
The guy's skilled, Jason.
Did you think his last name was Patrick?
No. I don't know. I thought for some reason my brain comprehended that as the guy's talking about wanting to roster Romanov's opponent, and I was about to lose it. That's Rocky, right? Rocky Martinez.
If Romanov loses, Martinez breaks a slate.
Easy. And Martinez has good hands. He really does. Patrick is interesting because if he was in the UFC and staying consistent with his activity, he's a threat. But he is older. He is 37. He is a liability on the feet. His best way to get a win is take people down and hold them down. Bobby Green's got underrated takedown defense and is actually pretty decent on the ground. And I know that Clay Guida was picking him up and slamming him, but Clay Guida does that to probably everybody.
Yeah. Herman or Eubanks DraftKings?
Herman. It's Herman for me because I think that he has, potential to KO.
I think he tries to make it a brawl.
Right, he has to. He has to get inside that reach.
Yeah.
If Avila gets a little too over aggressive, the sharp boxing of Sijara Eubanks could, start to show, and it does take one shot, but Sarge really doesn't have the best finishing rate.
By the way, we got about 19 minutes here left in the show. We're going to try to get to as many questions as we possibly can before we reach up to lock here coming at 5 o'clock. Just a little reminder, coming up here tonight, we do have NBA and MLB live before lock, so be sure to check out those shows right here on Awesemo.com. And late tomorrow night, I will be doing the Early Bird podcast after I get done with my NFL broadcasting duties. I will be recording the MLB Early Bird podcast. Myself and Terry McBride get you ready for Monday's MLB slate. Who are your top 3 under 8K? Herman, Azatar, and who?
Nelson.
Yeah, I think that's Nelson's got one.
I think Ivy's really close, just of the variables of Barberena, but I think it's Nelson.
Yeah, Jay Vaughn asks, he goes, do we have any faith in Ivy if he gets it to the ground?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his film, he's kind of like one of these guys that just does not look UFC ready. But sometimes film is deceptive. And guys, the reason film's deceptive is because you can't really gauge somebody's strength. So maybe Anthony Ivy is just like insanely strong. I know that he cuts from over 200 pounds to make 170 pounds and felt a little zapped against Christian Aguilera. So perhaps, I don't hate him at 7,200.
Matt says, he goes, I love Kama. I just see value pouring out on Azatar. I think in terms of value, it's on DK. But when you look at the pricing on FanDuel, it's actually, he's more expensive than Kama Worthy. Azatar at $17, Worthy is at $15. I like Azatar more as a DK play than because, look, you're going to have to get the right side of this fight.
Right.
Yeah. And I know definitely on FanDuel, I was getting a lot of Worthy. Rank your level, this is from Seth, rank your level of confidence to win straight up. Avila, Quarantillo, Romanov, Roberts. Okay, we already know your level of confidence in Romanov.
Romanov and Roberts, bro. Romanov and Roberts. I told my buddy to put that parlay in, and it's like they're both like minus 400. It's not much, but I'm like, I like them. I would say
you should have told him like do an inside the distance prop on Romanov instead of.
I did it on other fighters. Avila, and then who was the fourth?
Billy Q.
I'd probably say Billy Q for GPP, and then Avila would be last because of the tough opponent. If you notice, what we're doing is like I'm really like scoping the fights that I want. I want the Worthy Azatar fight. I want the Quarantillo Nelson fight. I want the Roberts Kroom, the Romanov Martinez. And perhaps Barberena Ivy. Like those are the ones I'm really prioritizing.
Yeah. Next up, Brad says I have a feeling Eubanks versus Avila could be sneaky.
Yeah,
the price on DraftKings just scares me on Julia. You look at on FanDuel at $19. That's the same price for Romanov.
Yeah, get out of here, bro. Get out of here. That's not. I actually made the mistake. I was making a dummy FanDuel lineup, and I made it, and I forget who I had. Somebody at 19, and I'm looking at my lineup, and I just see no Romanov. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? And Romanov could be overlooked. Over on FanDuel. I like him there too.
Yeah. I need one more $19 fighter on FanDuel. I already have Romanov and Turner. $19 plus fighter. You have Romanov and Turner.
I like that lineup.
Well, if you're gonna have three of those fighters, you're taking some low options.
Barberena 21 is insane.
Yeah, I know. God.
Do you say Mike Rodriguez?
Mike Rodriguez is 20. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'd probably go Mike. Yeah,
it's not bad.
Yeah,
or maybe Angela Hill. You really try to get the 5 rounds.
That's true. Yeah, very true. Andrew says thoughts on fully fading main event. Hill ceiling can't be high though. 120 significant strikes, 90 points. I don't think you can fade the fight on DraftKings just because of pricing. I think you can fade the fight on FanDuel because of pricing.
I would agree with you. I don't think the volume's going to be like how people are thinking. Like Michelle Waterson probably is not going to stand in a phone booth with Angela Hill and just let her punch her. She's going to use that distance, that side kick, the karate, keep her slightly away, work her kicks, work into a takedown. That's what I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, this is my thing, and I know that there may be a decent amount of people who are in the chat right now who maybe only are a single entry player. So you have to look at playing one side or the other. We're both multiple line players.
Yeah.
If you told me I can only play one lineup as a single entry, say it's like the DraftKings $12 single entry type fields they have, in the main event, I would try to construct a roster with Angela Hill more than I would Michelle Waterson.
Totally agree. I would absolutely agree.
Yeah. Next question goes, Matthew says, pick 2 for the upset, Herman, Ivy, Nelson. Oof.
Herman and Nelson.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. What are the 3 fights you think is a lock? I think, okay, I guess here's my question. I'm going to take this question as the 3 fights that we believe you have to roster.
Yeah,
and
okay.
For me, Waterson Hill, Azatar, Worthy, and the third one would be Romanov, Martinez.
Okay. Romanov, Martinez for me, Roberts, Kroom, and Worthy, Azatar. Those are 3 amazing options. Like, get exposure to those fights.
Eubanks or Kish on DraftKings? I hate that I'm even asking this question.
I hate you're asking that question too.
That's from Carter.
Carter, man, you're making me pick between.
I would say Eubanks.
Yeah, agree. Kish, bro. I can't roster Kish. Watch Kish go out there and just absolutely kill it. I haven't seen it. I'm not supporting it. 29% finish rate in 7 professional fights. I don't see the volume. Nah, I'm good.
Next up, top 3 optimal picks. See, that's hard. That's a like there's fights I can point to and say the winner of that fight's in the optimal.
Yeah, I wouldn't even try to get into it so much like that. I would just say the fights. Like,
yeah, to me, Azatar Worthy, Rodriguez Herman, Kroom Roberts. I know this is more than 3. Romanov Martinez,
yeah,
Turner Weaver. Like I'm looking at it and saying, okay, what are the fights I believe have a high probability of a finish? What are the fights I believe have a high probability of going the distance?
Yeah.
And so the ones that you think have a high probability of a finish, those are ones you got to be looking at, in my mind.
Clearly, I don't see Romanov going to the decision at all. I have him in, I think, every single lineup.
Montel says Roosevelt or Barberena. To me, I would side Roosevelt, A matchup, B price.
Money. Roosevelt all day.
Yeah. Hill, Rodriguez, or Billy Q on FanDuel.
I'd say Billy Q. And you guys know I've been talking about Kyle Nelson, but it's the fight. That's the fight I want.
Yeah, no, I think that's something you got to consider. Underdog. Go ahead.
No, I just see somebody in the chat saying he has 100% Kish. I hope that's not true.
Whew, man, that's a bold call. Bold call. I hope he's a single entry player.
I hope, yeah,
a multiple player. I hope so. Yeah. Do you think Kroom could be a sneaky punt?
Okay, so let me tell you about Kroom. I've trained at the same place that Kroom has when I was down over in New Mexico. He was at Jackson's. I don't know where he is now.
Glory. He's at Glory.
Okay. But, Kevin Kroom's tough. He's really, really aggressive. He kind of just walks forward. He's like the Terminator and eats a lot of shots, and is there on the receiving end as well, takes a ton of shots, gets dropped, gets choked. He has, in his losses, Jason, he has been finished quite a bit. So I know some people regionally that have beat him, and I do think that Roosevelt Roberts is better than them. So I like Roberts a little bit more.
Yeah. By the way, we are just under 10 minutes before lock. We will try to get in most of these questions as we do go on. Of course, be sure to check out that promo we got going on right now over at Awesemo.com for the NFL kickoff flash sale. Use the promo code REDZONE and get Awesemo plus NFL weekly pass for 50% off. This offer does expire on September the 15th. Roosevelt or Barberena? I would say Roosevelt.
Same.
Can you both give your top 3 higher confidence plays? Well, okay, we already know who your number 1 is.
Yeah.
Who's number 2 and number 3 for you?
Roberts. After that, it kind of gets murky. It really does. I think that Turner gets it done too.
I would go Romanov, Turner, Roberts.
Okay.
Underdog with the most life, Ivy, Herman, Patrick. I think we talked that one already, didn't we?
Yeah. I'm not on Patrick this week. No, thank you. If he, sometimes you have to plant your flag, Jason, and you can't really have every possibility out there unless you're spending tons of money. So I'm okay with Patrick if he wins. Patrick, whatever his name is.
Yeah. Billy Q and Worthy or Bobby Green and Azatar, FanDuel.
That's good. Give me Billy Q and Worthy, honestly.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you on that one. Ivy or Nelson? Nelson for me.
Yeah, same.
Common Worthy looks like a slight fade on FanDuel. I don't know why he would be considered a slight fade.
Has to be an ownership thing because he's $15, but I mean,
let me look at old ownership. Let's see if we've got an update here. Let's see here. Ownership on Comma Worthy on FanDuel.
We have no crazy news, so that's good.
Yeah, I checked MMA Junkie's Twitter a second ago. Where is old? Common Worthy is 35%.
That's not horrible. I mean,
No.
eat the chalk sometimes, guys. Don't always avoid
Yeah,
chalk.
yeah. I mean, I think it's just it's the price point on FanDuel. I think that's why you have to look at him a little bit there. Chances of a Nelson knockout early, yeah, there's definitely a good chance of that.
He talked about it in an interview. That's what he's gunning for. He's stuffing shots. He's throwing Chuck Liddell style, sprawl and brawl.
Must have on DK. I'd probably start with Roosevelt Roberts just because of the price point.
Romanov.
Look, you do got to give other advice there, bro.
Yeah, no, you're saying who's my guy I'm starting my lineups with? Romanov. That's who I'm going with. And Roberts. You mentioned the other guy. What do you want me to do? Like
you got some love. Oh man. Oof,
he better come through because look he's been scheduled 4 times to fight now. Hopefully he's not zapped. And hopefully he doesn't gas out because heavyweights when they get exhausted, oh boy.
Just saying, if Romanov doesn't win, you just need to turn off your Twitter account for tonight. Because your mentions are going to be brutal.
Yeah, that's okay, man. I put my money where my mouth is.
Exactly.
I'm touting guys. I'm picking.
Worthy and Barberena or Azatar and Green.
I'd say the first one. I like those. I mean, that's good options, man. I like the first one a little bit better though for GPP. We got 5 minutes, guys. Thank you for all the questions. Hit that like button. Get us to 150 if you can.
Alex Caruso says, I have a 1,100 left over for salary. Is that a huge problem? No.
I have like 4K on some lineups. Like,
wow.
Don't worry about it. It's not NBA. It's not. You don't need to fill 50,000.
Final spot. This is from Dylan. Doesn't say what platform.
Okay.
Hill or Mike Rodriguez? This is an interesting one.
I know. I was staring at that question.
I might say Angela Hill.
I would agree.
And it's primarily 5 rounds. If it's 3 rounds,
man. Yeah. If it's 3 rounds, I'm not touching Angela Hill in that situation.
Yeah. The one thing you like about Angela Hill is that the fight stays on the feet is the volume that she throws, and you're gonna rack up some points because of significant strikes.
And the one thing you don't like about Angela Hill is if she gets taken down. But guess what? Mike Rodriguez has the same problem. So
yeah, I think you got to go back a long time to find the last time that Ed Herman has multiple takedowns in a fight. I'll pull it up here in a second. I do want to get some other questions in here so you can help out everyone out here. How are we feeling about Bobby Green?
I like him. He's a decision machine. He really is. So.
No. So the last time Ed Herman landed a takedown was against CB Dalloway in 2017. Got 1 takedown in that fight. The last time he landed multiple takedowns, July 27, 2013 against Trevor Smith, he got 2.
He doesn't need to get a takedown to win the fight. He just needs to crack Mike Rodriguez hard. I hope Mike wins. But Mike likes to tie plum in the clinch. So whenever you're throwing a knee, a lot of times guys will eat the knee and grab the leg and press forward just to put you on your back.
Ward Senior goes, Martinez or Romanov? I don't even have to ask you that question. We already know where you're going with.
Next. Yeah.
Here's the question. Do you have 100% Romanov?
Yeah, I do.
Oof. Could be a bad night if that come for you.
I like doing it like that, though.
Who do you have the most confidence to win between Rodriguez, Barberena, and Green?
To win?
Give me 1 Bobby Green, 2
Barberena for me.
I was gonna go Mike Rod and then 3 Barberena.
Okay, yeah. So we both have the same number 1.
This is a cash question on DraftKings from Chase. He says Barberena, Lee, or Green.
Barberena in that one.
Thoughts on fading the main event? I don't like that strategy on DraftKings overall.
Yeah.
Look, if you're playing 150 lineups, yeah, of course you're going to fade in one of those lineups. But it's the FanDuel pricing does make it difficult.
Yeah. The FanDuel, I couldn't do it on FanDuel. I mean, they're out of their mind with that. But I do think I have a mental block about avoiding 5-round fights, Jason, and perhaps I kind of leave myself out of big winnings because of it. But I think it's a safe approach to always include a 5-round fight. So I mostly have it.
Yeah. Of course, we're just 1 minute away from lock. So if you haven't locked your lineups in yet, you're scrambling at this point. And we have all been there. We have all been there.
That last week was bad.
Yeah, and look, and I think also note about the main event was it was initially a 3-round fight, but when there was a change with Glover Teixeira being pulled from this card due to COVID, the UFC asked Waterson and he'll do 5 rounds, and they said sure, no problem.
I'll do 5 rounds too. I mean, show me the money.
There is a bonus there. There is more money if it's a 5-round fight.
That's what I'm saying.
Look, money talks.
Show me the money.
Follow the money. It's as simple as that. This is a comment from You Wish. He says, when you use a fantasy cruncher and you do 100 lineups, you got to use everyone.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're playing 150 lineups, sometimes I'll do that. I want to see what it spits out.
I mean, if I have a really confident play, I'm not going to play their opponent. That's just, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Dylan says King Kong better bring the action like he does on the tape. And
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
But, Pete, we have reached a lock here, so hopefully everyone has a great night of MMA DFS. Of course, be sure to keep it locked here to Awesemo.com. We have got coverage all day for you when it comes to NFL, NBA, MLB, everything you need. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. We appreciate everyone that listens. I think we're going to have the strategy show on Thursday afternoons now. I'm not sure about that quite yet. I think we actually, me and Pete really haven't talked about it, so we gotta kind of figure that out when it comes to both of our schedules. Our sometimes me and Pete's schedules are a little off, so we gotta try to figure out, hey, when are you available to do a show? So just follow us on social media at Jason_Floyd, at Pete the Heat MMA. We will let you know when the strategy show is for next week for the Fight Night card. Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley.
Covington all day, bro. Give me Covington all day. I'm not falling for the Tyron Woodley trap anymore.
You're not?
No, I do. No way.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But yeah, man, that is going to wrap it up for this edition of the MMA Live Before Lock Show. We appreciate everyone tuning in every week right here on Awesemo.com. Have a great weekend, everybody.